and learn and do what we can do as coaches and leaders to keep the game going during this time. I'm Jacob Mars. I chair the Hockey Director Committee for Minnesota Hockey. And tonight we're excited to have some great panelists with us. The Hockey Director Conference is sponsored by Coach Them, and Coach Them is a wonderful tool that's available online for you to use when planning your practices and organizing your team. I would highly recommend that you take advantage of that and go online and check that out. I've had the opportunity now to draw up some drills and some practice plans and share them with our coaches and share them with our team, and excited to continue using that when we get going. And I know you'll hear more about that this evening. Tonight, we're excited to have Mike Terwilliger, Hockey Programs Manager for Minnesota Hockey, and Brooke White, the Minnesota Hockey ADM Girls Player Development Coordinator, and Wes Bolin, the ADM Player Development Coordinator on the boys' side. If you have questions tonight during the webinar, please put them in the Q&A, and we'll make sure that we get those answered. But again, thank you for being here. And with that, I will turn it over to Mike Terwilliger.
Okay, thanks, Jacob. Thanks everybody for tuning in tonight and taking time out of your busy schedule to be here tonight, to become a better coach and to better help your families and kids. I will say one thing on the Coach Them before we get started. Jacob mentioned their presenting sponsor. I've used Coach Them for probably about 3 years. I'm also a high school coach, and then I also help. I'm an assistant coach for my daughter's 12U team, so I'm in the trenches with all of you and love coaching and miss being at the rink right now, as you all do as well. But it's a really great tool for drawing up drills. I found it's the easiest one to use that I've come across, and I've tried a lot of other ones over probably the last 10 or 15 years. So it's a really easy one to draw up your own drills, and then once you draw it up once, you can save it really easily and you can share it. In fact, Coach Bolin and myself are both on Coach Them, and so we can share drills between the two of us really easily. And there's a few other coaches that I'm on there with as well, and so I can share my drills with the coach, and they can have my whole entire library, catalog of drills, and it's really easy to share those as well as practice plans as well. So if you have questions on it, certainly go on to the website, or you can contact me as well, and I'd be happy to. I'm not an expert, but I'm a big supporter of it, and I love it. It's been, like I said, the easiest thing to use that I've come across. So all that said, so I'm the high school coach at Jefferson, and I'm also a longtime youth coach. So I've got a few different lenses I'm looking through these things with here as well. So and also through a dad and being a former teacher as well. So Coach Bolin and Coach White-Lancette, feel free to chime in if I forget anything or if you want to add anything to any of my slides. But I think the first one here before I get started with any of the virtual stuff is just a reminder, we're all leaders. So as a coach, especially if you're the head coach, you're really the leader of your team and your other coaches and your families. So really set a positive tone. And right now it's a challenging time, whatever level you're at. And it's a hard time with their kids being paused with activities and athletics and school's certainly a challenge and all of these things. And I think you can kind of choose to put things in the positive spin, or as positive as you can at times, or you can be really negative. And I think the more you can try to be positive and find the silver lining in things, and with this virtual coaching and ability to connect with your team, again, not ideally like on the ice, but you can certainly help. I think your players and your coaches and families with what their attitude is like with all this stuff. So control what we can control. We're hopefully going to see the numbers with the virus and stuff go the right way, and we're hopefully going to be off pause at some point. We know we will, but we can't really control that. So let's just try to control what we can control and be positive. And the big thing you're going to hear a theme with when I talk tonight, is just staying connected to your kids and to your team as best you can during this time. So Jacob, if you want to go to the next slide, please. Thank you. Just a couple good reminders. With any of this, regardless of the age, make sure you include your parents in communication with all this. Part of that's along obviously the safe sport guidelines, but also just, I think, so you want to be partners with your parents on your team too, so they're aware of what you're doing and what their child is doing or being asked to do as well with any virtual coaching. So making sure that you're partnering up with them and keeping them in the loop. And I would say just also realize that not everyone has the same ability to stay connected. So you might have, depending on where you coach, you might have families that have all the bells and whistles and connect with 2 or 3 different kinds of devices at any time, and you're going to also have some that maybe can't connect, or it's a real challenge too. So I think just being aware of that and being willing to look outside and think outside the box. If you need to provide some support to help somebody have the ability to connect, or sending reminders to certain families and stuff like that, so they can feel part of it too, and so you don't have kids, especially as you get even a little bit older, not feeling like they're being left out and missing out on things. So just know it's again, most families now certainly have the ability to have the internet and all those things at their fingertips, but just remember, it's not the same for everybody. So just a good thing to keep in mind. I would say another good reminder, just be intentional and have a plan. So again, feel free to use us as resources anytime. Lean on your assistant coaches, seek out other people in your association to help you kind of plan things out, so it's not just flying by the seat of your pants. And at times that can work out well, but I also know that again, maybe it's the teacher in me and the coach in me. The times I have the most success is when I've been able to think things out and be really intentional and have a plan for things. All these things for a lot of kids, they're battling with we're kind of being a little more battling isolation and not seeing family and friends as much as we normally do. Mental health is obviously a concern right now. So giving kids a few opportunities a week to connect with their teammates and see their coach and know that people care about them. You just don't know the kind of effect sometimes you're having on a kid. And it might be way more profound than you think, and you may not know it right now. So just know that these are really good opportunities for all of our mental health. And I would say focus on the relationships. Our ADM manager from USA Hockey is a guy named Guy Gosselin, who many of you maybe know or have heard of. He's a Rochester guy, and then he's if you go to a game at UMD, his picture's all over the wall because he was a great player there. He played in 2 Olympics, played a little bit in the NHL, and so he's played hockey at the highest of all levels. And when talking with him, when this pause was kind of just getting started, and we're just talking about virtual coaching, he just said, the biggest thing he thinks is just the focusing on the relationships and connecting with kids. And obviously there's going to be people on this call, other panelists, and some of you out there that have great ideas for X's and O's and things like that you can do to up your team's hockey IQ and all that. But again, the focus and the foundation should really be on the relationships with the kids and helping them feel connected. Routines can provide comfort, especially with kids a little older and can be a little more independent. Helping them to provide a little bit of a routine, or help guide them into having routines, like with if they're doing off ice fitness and things like that you're kind of giving them ideas for. Having a routine is great. Jacob is also a high school coach, and he actually had his high school players, he said today, send him their routines for the week. So they kind of, and it's going to really force some of those older kids, if you have Bantams or 15Us, to think about what their routine is day in and day out, so they can fit these things in and get the most out of their week too. So a couple more reminders. You want to go to the next slide, please, Jacob? Try to build in a little bit of variety. So obviously there might be some things that you do that are the same week to week, and that's great, but a little variety I think is good. I would also look at trying to do some things, maybe large group and small group, if you have times to connect with, just again, if you're peewees or bantams and you've got these are a group of defensemen and these are groups of forwards or goalies, try to have maybe opportunities for also small group breakouts and things like that as well. Again, just that face-to-face is important. So when you're doing these things, I would encourage your kids, and let the parents know too. It's have a name on the screen, have a face on the screen, and again, that what they might not say it, but they're gonna like seeing their buddies' faces on there. I actually just earlier tonight I did a call with all the Bloomington Jefferson Squirts, just talking about what it means to be a Jaguar, and it was kind of cute. We had like 60 Squirts on there, and they're all excited to see each other. And you forget that they just want to see their buddies and sometimes just say hi to each other. So before the call was starting, they were all kind of popcorn saying hi back and forth. And that's huge, that face-to-face thing. One thing to consider is, you don't have to do this, but weekly themes. if you're looking for a way to organize your thoughts or organize your activities, having a weekly theme could be good. And again, we can give you ideas for those if you want to connect offline on this, but you might have some as well. So maybe it's, special teams one week, and maybe the next week is maybe gratitude. Or, I mean, it could be, life lesson type of things. They could be more centered around hockey. And I just try to have a little bit of element of fun to things too. Try to, kids love to laugh. You've all seen the stats. Like I teach first and second grade, like, kids that age smile and laugh like 300 times a day. And I think adults, we smile like 30 times a day or something like that. So, so just remember that they love to smile and have fun. Next slide, Jacob. All right. Yeah, I would say, short here. I'm going to probably ramble on. I'm not going to be short and sweet myself, but try to keep it short and sweet. If you're not sure if you should go a little longer, maybe err on the side of being a little shorter. Not only are adults on Zoom all the time, but our kids are as well in these virtual classrooms and stuff. So I would keep it age appropriate, and we're going to go through kind of some ideas for each age group. But I would say, there's actually one of the guys I coach high school with. His uncle is a longtime scout for Ottawa, and he works with top college and then top players once they're drafted as well. And when they do video times with their pros, they keep it to about 8 minutes, because that's about all those guys can pay attention. So here are guys that are pros. He's keeping his sessions to 8 to 10 minutes. So sometimes, maybe think twice before going an hour with your PBs or 4. We'd err on the side of being short and sweet. And again, having that plan will help with that too. Okay, I think I'm going to talk about the 8U slide next, and then I'll turn it over to Brooke. All right, perfect. So mites and 8U. So again, the main thing is your objective and overview. Providing players an opportunity to connect with their teammates and stay engaged with hockey. And again, the emphasis on the connection with the teammates. We'd recommend one virtual session a week. No, for sure, no more than twice. If you've got a group that maybe you feel like you kind of will know your group, if you feel like 2 times might work, that's okay. But I would, much more than that, you don't want it to feel like a job. These kids want them to really look forward to it. And I would say this was an idea Wes had, consider scheduling at the same time as your typical practice. So if you normally practice Saturday mornings, I think that's when our mites would always skate in our local association when our kids are growing up. Maybe keep it that's a time that they're fresh and bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. Maybe if you can avoid the family dinner times and things like that, when parents have other things going on and they're juggling, like maybe homework and just trying to catch up with their kids after work. You certainly have to do it when it works, but if you're able to maybe think about doing them during typical practice times, that'd be great. Parents have to be included in the invitation and should be encouraged to join and be there. Make them fun and focus mainly on the team relationships and connections. That's what they're going to remember. So next slide. And then I think there was another, that's okay. There was another one of some different activities and stuff. I don't know. I don't see it on there, Jacob. No big deal. And there was the one slide that had the different ideas of different activities. I think you showed it there a second ago. Sorry to make you go back. If not, we can go on to the 10U slide and talk about we can go into the 10U if that's the order you have them in. At some point, it'll come back online.
It should be there now, Twig.
Okay, yeah, that's great. So some ideas, and this one I think is one of the ones for one of the older groups. It might be for 10U as well, but some of the ones that would apply to the first and second graders. Ask them just a question of the day to get an icebreaker. Again, I taught first grade, so they love talking about their favorite food, favorite thing about school. Ask them how many teeth they've lost. It's just something to kind of get them talking, and you'll be amazed at how they'll remember those things. You can do team trivia, so you could get some questions you either know the answer to the kids in advance or have their parents send in a note, and then you can have kids on the team guess, who that answer belongs to. You could do a list of hockey questions and, again, make that age appropriate, test the team's hockey knowledge. You might have kids and mites that they may not know anybody on the Wild, or they might just know one player. So they probably, again, keep that age appropriate. A Q&A with your local high school teams captains or leaders is huge, and again, a great way. I'm a big believer in connecting your high school program to your youth program as both on the boys and the girls side as much as you can. And so that's a great way for them to get to know your high school and local kind of celebs and captains. So those would be some ideas I think that would be really, really good for the 8U. If you're asking them to do, different things like, do some stick handling or something like that, you could do a quick Zoom where you're demonstrating those things live, or you could have a high school player demonstrate that for your kids. And again, I would keep it short. I would probably stay away from the X's and O's with your 8U and keep it fun. And the main thing is to keep them feeling connected, with their buddies and stuff on their team. So, Brooke, you want to take it away with the 10U?
Yeah.
Be great.
So I also am an assistant coach with the Egan Association for my son's team, squirt team. I have a mite and a squirt. So this hits home right away as well. We actually just did a Zoom last night and did, a kind of 20 minutes little workout with the group. And I think the biggest thing at this age group is to be able to keep them engaged and keep their attention. So being more active, getting them involved in the exercises and having them, after they're done, who's done, raise your hand, that sort of thing. Being more interactive will keep the kids more engaged. We talked about how many times a week we would have the kids do this. I know our team is doing twice a week, but I think twice a week is a good number, just because you can hit on certain things, like we talked about, variety of things, like a video session. Maybe they take a look at a video or a concept and kind of label those. Maybe a game or interaction at the end, and coupled with a workout as well. But they got a good workout in, and they had fun at the same time. So I think, again, taking a look at it, it's keeping the kids motivated, it's keeping them active. And again, building upon the team chemistry. In the times that we're in now, it's hard to even do that, because most rinks are, 10 minutes in, 10 minutes out, sort of thing. So this gives a really good opportunity to be able to start to build that chemistry for the season. But then when you get back to the rink, they know each other that much more, and you're kind of building upon that. We know the teams that do the best on the ice are the ones that get along the best off the ice, and it translates to on ice. So I think just being able to, and some of the coaches may already be doing this, but just to be able to get different ideas on the certain things that you can do to help your team build that chemistry is really important. Keeping it lengthwise, I think, we did probably 30 minutes. But again, based upon your group and how engaged they are and that sort of thing, you can go between 15 to 30 minutes. And again, keeping that variety is key. But again, focusing on just the relationships, as we've talked about here. A good one, I think, that Twig brought up was having a baby picture and having the kids, guess who that is. I think that's things that are fun that they really wouldn't, in a normal basis, wouldn't do, is something that will just help them bond, a little bit better. And it even just going over, if you're thinking about concepts, different concepts you can do. You can show, like I said, it's easy to kind of upload that video or show a video, and then kind of give them an A, B, or C option. Hey, what would you do in this situation? Or even, I know for squirt, at the squirt level, 10U, it's first year squirts, learning positioning. It's going back to those basics and be utilizing this time to be able to teach those things as well, rather than when you get back to the ice, you're already off and running. So a lot of this translates and correlates to the different age groups, but for this age group, I think the biggest thing is, again, keeping them engaged, keeping them focused, but having something to do other than sitting and, watching TV and not being engaged with their team. So I think that's pretty much it for this section, for my section. I think we'll go to Wes on the Pee Wee level.
Thanks, Brooke. Good evening, everybody. Thanks for being here. We'll talk a little bit about a couple of the older groups. I also coach a high school team at Woodbury High School, and coach the boys there. And we just finished up our second day of virtual hockey. And with the older kids, you can do a little bit more. You can have some higher expectations of them, but yet it still has to be age appropriate. And just because your kids are peewees and bantams doesn't mean that you can have the same kind of expectations that high school, college, or pro players might have. You still need to keep them, like we said, age appropriate. With our high school team, they had a morning workout yesterday, and they'll have one on Thursday. That's in conjunction with the basketball team through our athletic department, and they get after it hard for an hour, and it's just what athletes do at that level. Now you could take your concept here and think about, okay, if I'm going to connect with my peewees or my bantams, maybe one of the days of the week, I'm going to take them through a 15-minute off ice workout where we do some plyos, some jumping, some things like that are going to get their heart rate going a little bit, and give them some things that they can be doing a couple of days throughout the week. You don't need to get them on every day. All you need to do is give them some ideas and get them doing some things together. That would be great. For the Pee Wee 12U, we would recommend about 2 virtual sessions per week. If they practice on a Monday, Wednesday, or a Tuesday, Thursday, maybe those are the evenings that you would get them together. Typical practice times, try to keep them short, 15 to 20 minutes. You could go up to 30 if you think you got great quality and you've got enough variety within your presentation. Once again, include the parents there. Try to make things fun and focus mainly on those team relationships and connections. Excuse me, go to the next slide there. Like things were mentioned before, ask players to ask questions or favorite things about hockey, come up with some trivia. I'm a big trivia guy, whether it's relating to teams from the past. I can give my high school players a list of questions about trivia, and they can't match up who the Winnipeg Jets were, and the Colorado Avalanche, that they were the Quebec Nordiques and things like that. Come up with a bunch of matching questions like that, make them think about it. With the high school, I'll give them a list and say, hey, can you come up with the last 5 or 6 state championship teams? And they can all remember that Jefferson was state championship back in the 80s and 90s, but they don't necessarily remember that somebody else was a state champion 2 or 3 years ago. There's usually one kid though that does. He knows them all, and you play right into him, which is good. Ask them for Stanley Cup winners the last few years. See how far back they can go. And then ask them some other ones. Who's the Golden Jet, and who's Mr. Hockey. Things that we kind of expect people with a good hockey background to really kind of understand that. Those of you who are involved in women's hockey can, give them some more local lines. Who's Maddie Rooney? Things like that. They should. All the girls in Minnesota should know, who Maddie Rooney is. And whereas with the boys game, we've got some others that we might want to be aware of. So we do a lot of things with that. Just like if we're taking a road trip, we might be doing that. So you kind of pull those things out of your bag and say, come up with those. Talking about a coach's corner there. How much coaching do you do? Remember that you should not always overcoach, both on the ice and off the ice. And so figure out a concept that you want to teach. At the Pee Wee level, it might be teaching something about outnumbering players offensively in a 2-on-1 to a 3-on-2, or getting 3-on-2 situations to break them down. You don't have to go over your entire power play plan. What you should do is talk about, how do we create little 2-on-1s? Where are the openings on players? And maybe you can find some video that is related to that, and see what you come up with. For example, with my high school team, I'm going to emphasize a little bit on offensive attack over the next 3 weeks, but I'm looking at things for 3 weeks and getting kids together for, 15 times over the next 3 weeks. And so one of the things we're going to talk about is offensive attack. And then, today we talked about goals with our forwards and our goalies. I asked the goalies, hey, tell me between last year and this year, tell me a day when you were just on, that everything was going great for you. What was it like? And they kind of recalled some good positive vibes about things. And then I had the forwards separate and asked them to identify, hey, tell me a goal you scored here in the off season or since last season that was memorable for you, that you felt like, man, I had a really good play on that. And they shared those kinds of things. And, we talked about that. Goalies be in a groove. So we talk about the mental part of the game. Goalies be in a groove, and forwards think about scoring and kind of relish that. And those are the kinds of concepts that we want to talk about. Some of the other fun things that are on there, hockey bingo. We actually did that with our team last spring when I was trying to connect with our guys that are, kind of floundering a little bit without spring activities, without school. And so we ended up playing weekly hockey bingo, and that was fun. I got a guest speaker lined up here for 2 weeks from now, and I'm going to bring in a pro scout to talk to them about what scouts look for in hockey players individually, and let him kind of talk with the kids about that, give them a different voice about things. So those are the kinds of things that we're going to do. If you take a look at this list here, a lot of ways to get your kids involved. Have them draw up a drill. Create posters about hockey. Young kids like to draw. Those are good things. Let's move on to the next slide here, Jacob. With the 15 U's, we added, the possibility of a third session a week. Still 20 to 25, maybe 30, 35. Same concept, always just be age appropriate. I think that's the most important thing when you're thinking about this concept is age appropriate. My high school players, they've been on line for 3 hours of the day in classes. They got homework they got to take care of. They did the virtual workout in the morning, and we kept them on for about 30 minutes today. And had goalies on first, had the defenseman with another coach, sophomores with another coach, and forwards were on for about 30 minutes. And so we just kind of break it up and have some variety. Over our next few days, we are going to break things down where we have one group, one coach is going to take one aspect, one coach going to take another coach going to take another. So we're going to have 3 coaches presenting over the next 3 days to small groups with a chance of a little bit more interaction within the kids. And one tactical thing, one skill kind of hard work kind of thing, and another kind of a mental focus preparation thing. So those are the kinds of things that we want to really focus on, is providing variety, not be too long in the presentations that we make, not overcoach, but yet still show we care about them and try to connect with them individually. Those are the kinds of things that we're looking at. Next slide there, Jacob, see if I missed anything on there. Question of the day, got that. Older kids, that peewee age, it's great to have a high school player. By the time you're bantam, you really want that, a high school leader who's going to really set a good example for you. Like I said, the coaching thing is important. Game footage, if you've got that already, you could make a highlight video, try to feature everybody if you can. And humor is good. Find a way to make it fun for them. And one of the things that Twig mentioned earlier, I think that's really important, is positivity. The approach that you take as a coach in your presentation is going to really go a long way in determining what the kids get out of it. And if you're positive and energetic and say, hey, let's just go make the best of things here, then things are going to be great for you. And don't use that as a vehicle to vent any personal frustrations you might have with, why we're unable to play, and blame so-and-so for not being able to play. We're beyond that, and we're going to just move forward and be positive and get fired up to get back on the ice on December 19th. I grabbed ice at 6 a.m. that day for my high school team, knowing that I won't be able to use it. But what the heck, I got it at 6 a.m. Over at Woodbury on the East Rink, and who knows, I might show up there and skate anyway. So I'm looking forward to that. Let's see. I think we've talked about some of the things here. Mix things up. Competition against another team. I think that's a really a big opportunity for you. A team, double A team. They may be a little bit imbalanced when it comes to ability level, but not when it comes to anything off ice like this. And it can be a great friendly rivalry to generate. I know our Woodbury Association would love to have some competition amongst same age groups there. But those are important. And every day I've met with my kids, it's been to ask for some player input. I tell them, hey, what can I do for you? What do you need me to do? And whether it's individually or collectively as a group. So I think that's kind of where we're at this point. Jacob, were you going to wrap things up, or?
Yeah, absolutely. You guys are spot on with everything you're talking about. And especially right now, when as coaches, as hockey leaders, we're all wondering what we can do to keep hockey on the players' minds and keep the players active and not just sitting around and doing nothing. And all the ideas that you brought up are going to be very useful for our players. And I know that as coaches and association leaders, we can feel kind of down right now with how things are going, but this is a great opportunity to connect with your team, connect with your players, to come up with fun, creative ways of keeping players engaged in hockey. And a few of these things, like having a friendly competition against a rival team. I know that Twig's daughter's team has a shooting and stick handling contest with a rival association team. And that is just a lot of fun and things that you can do, or bringing on that high school player, or utilizing social media. Our players love social media. They're good at it. They know how to use it. So how can we utilize it? Well, it could be as simple as taking a video off of YouTube of a professional or a college player doing something, if it's a stick handling drill or shooting, or if they're shooting pucks, and have them do a side-by-side video of them doing it, or put it on your team Facebook page or share it with the group. But you can come up with a lot of fun and cool ideas of things to do with your team that'll keep the players engaged and keep them energized. And as always, ask for their input. I think that Brooke and Wes and Twig really nailed that a piece of this is social for these players who haven't seen each other for a while. So ask them what they want to do. And you could even allow them to plan their own virtual player party. So we appreciate you guys joining us for this player development webinar. If you have questions, please put them in the Q&A. We would love to answer them.
Hey, Jacob, can I just mention a couple of things? Just
Please.
ideas before questions. Well, one was just you talked about the player-led thing. And you still have to have a coach monitoring this, but like our daughter's team, the last couple, they've had kids lead, excuse me, like a stick handling workout. So they've had one of the 6th or 7th grade girls come up with it, and then they're a little bit more motivated to do it, and it's kind of fun, and actually come up with some kind of cool things that's kind of fun when it's player led. A couple of things as far as technology things, the coaches site is a really good site, and you can actually, they're a partner of ours at Minnesota Hockey as well, but they have a lot of really great small clips, good teaching clips, like from some of their seminars and stuff. some that you can take out like a 10-minute chunk, like to show your defenseman something on tight gaps or something like that. And they'll have, Daryl Sador or some other pro coach talk about a certain concept, and then, they're doing it at a conference, was professionally done. That's a really good one. Some other YouTube good follows, ones I like to check in. Joe Bonnet, who's a USA Hockey ADM rep, will have a lot of really good ideas on there for drills and just kind of cool, fun hockey things. Another one is Sane Sports, SANE Sports, or just go to USA Hockey. They'll sometimes have things. Daryl Belfry, who's the skills coach for the Maple Leafs and for the Chicago Steel, he's got some neat things where he breaks down, again, a certain concept for forwards and how to attack defensemen on a rush. So if you're looking for little, higher end stuff for maybe your Bantams or 15U, but also in 5 or 7 minute increments, he's got some good stuff on there. Todd Woodcroft, the UVM coach, the new University of Vermont coach, used to be a Winnipeg Jets coach who actually lives in Eagan. He's got some cool stuff on YouTube. So anyway, if you need help locating those things, I can help you find them. But a lot of times in those places, I've used them with high school or Bantam age kids because it's like a 7 or 8 minute little chunk I can yank out, show them, and it's probably the same stuff I'm telling them, but it's not me telling them it. It's another guy that's working in NHL, and it's kind of like sometimes you don't want to listen to what your dad says, but if your uncle tells you the same thing, you're like, oh yeah, that's a great idea. Thanks, Uncle Don. So anyway, so those are just some other ideas too around technology. So sorry to barge in again, Jacob, but thanks.
No, all great ideas.
Can I say one thing?
Yeah, Brooke.
Yeah, there's other avenues, but most people are using Zoom to kind of, do their, connections with their teams and things like that. But they're also, kids are using Google Classroom, right? So you're already using that as well. That's another avenue that you can set up things, during the week and things like that people may already be doing, but easy for kids to access and set up things during the week for their kids too. So there's a lot of avenues out there to be able to kind of set things up, and then obviously go into the resources and the YouTubes and Minnesota Hockey with, I know Mike, you set up the workouts that we did in the spring. So those are accessible too at Minnesota Hockey as well, if people are looking for different ideas for workouts and things like that too, in-home workouts.
Absolutely. Thanks, Brooke. We did have a question come through in the chat in regards to the type of technology that we're using. And when it comes to the virtual questions, you could do things like Zoom, or I'm sorry, the virtual meetings with your team. Zoom is great. They offer the free account and you get 40 minutes. Also, Google has a free video chat platform, and you have Skype and also Microsoft Teams. So there's a lot of ways that you're able to communicate with your players. If you have questions, please throw them in the Q&A. We would love to answer them. I'd like to know, Mike, with your daughter's team, could you tell us a little bit more about that competition that they're doing against a rival?
Yeah, I didn't set up the head coach. I'm just like the fourth assistant guy, so I'm just I'm just a little above pushing pucks, which is awesome, which is fun. So the head coach is friends with one of the another 12U team at the same level in the town next door. I live in Eden Prairie, so it's one of the Chaskatchan teams, and they just decided to come up with a way to make it a little more fun. And so the girls seem to be a little more motivated to shoot pucks a few times a week, and then I think each week they're gonna figure out who had the most shots and stick handling time. And I'm not sure what the bet is, but yeah, so it's kind of a fun thing. I'm not sure what the bet is between the coaches. Maybe I can't say that on here. I don't know, but they've got a little bet too. But it'll be kind of fun, and some of the girls are friends on the teams too. So
it's a great idea. That's a great idea. And Wes, I know that you were talking about earlier bringing on speakers and guest presenters to talk to your team. What are some of the topics that you as a high school coach are looking for in those presenters, and what could our youth coaches bring on to talk to their youth team?
Well, it's nice to have something that's kind of a consistent message. So communicating with the guest speaker ahead of time about some things is always kind of a good idea, so that there's not a a great contradiction there. But having some alternative views is a good thing. So like I've got a pro scout coming on. I'm going to say, all right, well, what do I want to look for in a player that's trying to play at another level? What's he looking at? And our guys are not pro scout material, but they are material that as material players that someone at another level would be interested in. And how do I maximize that? So that's going to be really good. If I were a Bantam coach, I'd maybe bring in that local high school coach and say, hey, what is it going to take to play high school hockey for you? And at this time, what are some things I should be thinking about? And support the off ice concepts of being a great person and a good student, that sort of a thing. If I'm a peewee player, I might want to bring in that high school player that says, hey, here's what it's like. Here's how hard I have to work. Here's some things that I have to do. They're so impressionable at that peewee age that if you bring in, a really, kind of an articulate high school kid who's carries himself with a sense of maturity, those are really good role models to bring in, and bring a couple in at a time. If you just have one, you just get the one voice. You have a couple, that's another one. And I think the other thing is important is don't forget the goalies. Don't forget the goalies. Maybe have a goalie specific session where you have a high school goalie come in and talk to your high school, your peewee goalies, your Bantam goalies, or get your association together and say, hey, we're going to have a goalie night, and have someone come in and talk with that. That was kind of my point of talking with my goaltenders individually as a group today, is to try to find what do they need, and are they talking with someone not necessarily on our staff, but somebody who is a goalie mentor of theirs.
Great ideas. Have you found that you said that you were talking individually with your goalies, that connecting one-on-one with players or in smaller groups is helping build that team bond and that chemistry and keeping them engaged like you're looking for it to?
I'm hoping that it will. It's obviously early in the process, and have tried to do that. Tried to do that a little bit last spring, but as any team, you really have to make individual connections in order for your whole group to be successful. And so I think anytime you can break things down into small groups and give kids a chance to express themselves and express some interest in some kind of ownership in the team and in what's going on, is really healthy for the kids and for the team as a whole.
I'm sure that they enjoy it too, knowing that they're building the relationship with you as a coach and keeping that during this downtime.
Yeah, for sure.
Brooke,
go ahead.
In all the years that I've known you, Brooke, and I've had the opportunity to see you coach in the HP programs and all the good stuff that you've been doing with your teams, but you are awesome when it comes to the team building. And what are some things that you've done with your team that can be transferred to a virtual or, in essence, an extended learning environment?
I think, in the past, again, I talked about just, the closer they are, the more team chemistry you have on and off the ice. But, virtually, I think just getting them engaged and getting to know each other, because there's not a lot of time, you think, in the rink to do those little things. Like know what their favorite food is, or what their favorite movie, or their best hockey memory, that sort of thing. You don't get to do that. And especially in this time, you definitely don't get to do that. Right. So I think getting engaged and having little things to kind of get people talking and getting them to better understand each other and where they're coming from and what makes them happy, I think will help that team chemistry. So, and having fun. It's about having fun, right? So
it's all about having fun. Yeah. And it's interesting you bring that up, because I think that we forget the fun part of hockey at times as adults. We tend to make it too much, too structured. But players want to have fun. And now that we're in this pause, I would recommend to everybody on the webinar to check out the Minnesota Hockey YouTube channel and the webinar we did back in April with Heather Mannix, the USA Hockey ADM regional manager. I think the title of it is Coaching Psychology, but what she does is she digs deep into research on what makes sports fun. We know from every study out there that the number one reason players play sports is to have fun. And her research that she was a part of dug into what fun means and is. And it's fascinating, and it can really help you with your team. And Wes, you brought up doing some stuff for the goalies. On Thursday at 8 o'clock, we have our next installment of the HDC series and player development series with Steve Carroll, who will be out talking about goaltending and not only how to be a goalie coach, how to incorporate goalies into your practices, how to coach goalies, but also things that we can do as an association and as coaches now in this pause. And I would highly recommend that you all join us and take advantage of that opportunity. And also a little bit, just looking even further ahead, is later this month on December 10th, we are welcoming some of our state's Division I players, and more information about that is on minnesotahockey.org. But that's a great time for players to log in and chat and Zoom about what it's like being a Division I player. For the men, we have Sammy Walker, who's captain of the Gophers, and Brooke, you'll have to remind me who we have on the girls' side.
Naomi Rogie, the UMD.
Awesome. So it's going to be a really great upcoming few weeks of hockey development conference series and player development webinars, and we hope that you take advantage of them. These will also be available on the Minnesota Hockey YouTube channel, so you're able to watch them in the future or share them. With that, I'd like to thank our presenters for joining us and for sharing this information. Brooke, Wes, and Mike, it's been just an awesome evening and fun to talk hockey, and hope everybody is staying safe and healthy.
Thanks, Jacob.
Yep. Thanks, Jacob. Thanks everybody.
Thanks everybody for being here.
Yep.